Okay, Nick Collier, and it's story time again. It's been a long time since I've done one, and I've had several people, send me notes and say, "Hey, what happened to story time?" Well, I'm back. Who knows how many times I'm back, but I'm back for this one. And this event took place, oh, I don't know, 15 or so years ago, and I had just built my shop, and it had a dirt floor, and but there was some major tools in there, and we were able to to I was able to do some work, and one of my friends, Zoe, came to me, and she said that an architectural company approached her and wanted to make a, sculpture of an atom, and it would be 18 feet tall. And I went, wow. And she says, well, there's a little clinch here. Uh, we got to do it in a month. And they're paying $10,000. I think it was 10, maybe it was $13,000. But it was, not a huge amount of money, and and it was like really it crunched in time. So I hung up the phone and I crunched the numbers, and it was going to work. And I didn't have any work at that point. It was in the early days of setting up this machine shop, and I thought, hey, this will be fun. So the the way to approach it is to make a maquette. And they wanted a carbon atom which has six, I believe it's six electrons going around it, and each of the hoops was going to be about 12 feet. So I just went up to the shop and built something real quick in welding rod, and that's this piece here. And we sent it to the architectural company, and they just loved it. They went, "Oh yeah, this is exactly what we want," and they said, "Okay, can you do it?" And we said, "Fine." And so we got a deposit, and we started in. Now this was before YouTube for me. It was before YouTube. I hadn't even started watching YouTube at that point. So basically, we took a bunch of snapshots throughout the process. And so what you're going to see is these snapshots as I'm telling the story. So we go, uh, I contact a company because, it had to be structurally engineered to stand up. And we thought, okay, what's going to be the worst case scenario? The worst case scenario, because it's going inside of a high school down in Tustin, California, which is down in Los Angeles. And we went, okay, well, what's going to be the worst case scenario? And we both realized that it's possible that the football team was going to get, a bright idea, and everybody climb up inside of this 12-foot cage. And would the sculpture handle 12 or 6 or 8, however many guys are in a football team? Uh, guilty, I don't know. uh, and how many ever guys, big honking guys too, would the sculpture hold up? And so I had to have one of the hoops, and it was like inch and a half tubing, right? And I had to make one of the hoops solid bar. And I called this company and said, can you bend a 12-inch hoop into inch and a half solid bar, or with inch and a half solid bar? And the company said, "Oh yeah, we can do it. It's going to be this amount, and it's going to take about a week." And it was okay. Let's do it. So that was the big hurdle, everything else kind of behind it was just about welding and putting it together, and and that took about 2 weeks or so. And it turned out that I was having there was a gallery in town at the time, and uh, we were having a showing at this gallery. So, so just about the time we finished this project. So we hoist this thing up on the back of a truck and drive it down to the gallery and park right out front of the gallery. With this, it's probably at that point on the truck bed, it was standing 18 feet off the ground. So it was quite a draw for the local people. So then, we did the event that evening, and the next morning, Barbara and I and Zoe pile in the truck, and we drive to Tustin, California. Now, the architectural company, had sent us a pattern of the base. Now, the base was a triangular kind of a concrete structure that had, probably this much of a platform on the top of it. And there were, good sized bolts. I can't remember, like 1 inch bolts sticking out of the concrete. And they sent us a pattern of the bolts. So, we drive down there, we show up the next morning, and the principal is standing of this high school, and they built a new wing on the high school, and the wing was the science lab. And everybody was excited, and there were cameras there, and there were, all kinds of, fanfare going on. And so, and they had a crane there, and they had a bunch of maintenance guys there, and everybody was pretty excited about this whole thing. So the crane picks up the sculpture and drops it over onto the platform, and the bolts didn't fit. And we looked at the measurements and we checked everything out, and whoever built the platform screwed up. So I can't remember exactly what happened, but I said, okay, do you have an arc welder? And they said, oh yeah, we got one. And I said, portable arc welder, of course, because we're out in the middle of the the big yard where all of the buildings kind of converged into this one central location, and you'll see a picture of that. So we go, they go and they get the welder and they bring it back, and it was one of those kind of welding situations where it was, we weren't sure, nobody was sure it was going to work. And you got to understand, there was not one inspector in this whole process, not one engineer in this whole process. I'm the guy, and it's all on me whether it's going to work or not. And I was just astounded that, there was no county inspectors, there was nothing. We just showed up and we put this thing on. Now I knew it was going to be strong enough because I wanted to make sure that that was going to happen. But some other dickhead could have built something really weak and it fall over. Anyhow, so we get the welder out, and then the maintenance guys are kind of scoffing at me like, yeah, this guy's not going to be able to do this, And I had welded this whole thing together, so my arc welding chops were, man, I was on top of it. So I get the arc welder, and they start it up and get it going, and there was probably 30 people standing around in the circle, and this is half an hour later that we finally get everything all set up. And I say, okay, yeah, everybody turn their backs or you got to leave. So everybody disappears for about, I don't know, it took me 45 minutes to weld up this part. And so we welded it up, and the maintenance guys were standing around looking at me. This guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing. And I get in there and I'm laying in some beads. Man, I'm just doing I got my chops down, and I lay in these beads, and I impress the maintenance workers. Impressing the press or the principal or the supervisor, none of those were impressed. They didn't give a shit one way or the other. But the maintenance workers, man, I was on top of their list. So we get the whole thing done. We get our check. We drive away, and I assume it's still standing there.